Let's see if that works this time. All right, my name's T.S. and I write comics, and I am live to talk about Hellion and Bash, my brand new comic book that's live on Kickstarter right now. You can follow the link in my bio and go check that out. We have issues 1 and 2. We're on issue 2 right now. We just got a publisher for it, and I'm really excited to share it with you guys. Also, if you have any questions about writing comics, creating comics, getting your comic books published, anything like that, I'd love to answer any and all questions you have. Or if you just want to stop by, hang out, and talk about comic books in general, that sounds pretty cool too. This is the new one. I have it right here. Oh, actually, that's issue 1. Issue 2 is live on Kickstarter right now, but you can pick up both. They're both over there. How's everybody doing today? If I sound a little rough, it's because I had a cold, and I'm trying to get over it, but my voice is not recovering as fast as I am. So I promise I'm okay. I just sound like I've been yelling at the top of my lungs for a few days straight. It's that con crud. I just went to Great Lakes Comic Con, and I came back with this, of course. And I had a great time other than getting sick. I just got signed up for Motor City Comic Con and a few others. I'm going to be at Tulip City Toy Fair. I'm hopefully going to be at, I think it's the Cherry Con, or Cherry City Comic Con in Traverse City, Michigan. So I'm going to be at a few coming up. Hopefully I don't get as much con crud this time around. I've heard that it happens no matter what you do. I tried not to shake that many hands, had to. I didn't touch my face afterwards. I used hand sanitizer, all that stuff. You still get it. It still happens. But it was good. I learned a few things, sold a few comic books, talked to a few comic book shops about carrying my books, which was really cool. It was a really good time. Also, I was just on the Planet Nerd Tween podcast, which was a blast with Kyle Goodman and Yancey, Year of the Collector. That was a blast. Go check that out. I believe that's over on their page. So yeah, I'm all over the place, doing all sorts of stuff in the community. If anything in there sounds interesting to you, if you like Batman and Robin, if you like Green Arrow and Speedy, anything like that, please go and check out Hellion and Bash #2. It's being published by Professional Entropy. I'm their flagship creator. They gave me money to make this comic book, and it's ongoing now. We're making issues at least 1 through 4. So if anything sounds interesting, go and back it. Go check it out. Share it. Tell a friend. Tell a neighbor. Tell that weird guy at your comic book shop. Because who knows how many more people are going to give me a chance to make a comic book. So I gotta shill it while I can. And, let's talk about comic books. If you have any questions about making them, I'd love to talk about it. I've also been reading a ton, trying to catch up on the Ultimate Universe, trying to catch up on the Absolute Universe, just Marvel and DC in general. I just finally got my hands on the Dead Lucky for the Massive Verse, which is one I haven't been able to check out yet, so I'm really excited about that. Picked up Scarlet from the Energon universe. Really, really excited to read that one. It's been a real comic booky few days. And I hope everybody else is doing great. Oh. Hey, man, how's it going? I'm super excited to check out your pitch. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but I just finished up all the other ones I promised to go through. I'm gonna be working on a thing for Bug Boy. I just talked to them and got their notes in order, so I can talk to them this weekend. And then I'm gonna be reading yours, which I'm super excited about. I know you're not stressing about it, but if I don't keep myself honest about it and go, okay, got to go down the list. I get a lot of requests to read stuff, which is really awesome. I'm super privileged, and I appreciate that you guys want to hear my feedback. But I do feel bad because it takes me forever to get through some of the stuff. And as you can hear, I'm kind of coming off that con crud, and just trying to play catch up. What do you want? What are you doing? Can't you see that I'm talking? This is my cat, Diana. Actually, she's my daughter's cat, but, my daughter isn't here for her to bother, so she comes and bothers me 24/7. She sits on my computer tower right behind my screen, like, all day and just lords over me and tries to poke at my keyboard. All right, get out of here. Go on. But yeah, so I'm behind on everything. I just finished a few scripts that I needed to get done, which was cool to finally catch up on that. And then I'm back on that pitch packet grind. So I got a few pitch packets for some publishers ready to go, and I'm working on doing a few more just to keep all of the engines turning, man. Like, it's an industry for a reason, so got to keep it going. About to wrap up the Kickstarter for Hellion and Bash #2. Link is in the bio. Go check that out. Green Zone #4, which I edited for Mr. Fish Comics. We're just finishing up that one, and I got to help him get his next Kickstarter ready and start helping him write Alice #2, which is really, really cool. Go check that out if you like me or Mr. Fish. So a lot of stuff in the works, which just means there's just a lot of work to do. I got signed up for Motor City Comic Con as well, so I can go get in front of more people and probably get sick again. Go on, yeah, forward always, always forward. Dude, exactly, man. I'm like a shark. If I'm not swimming, I'm dying. And it's how it goes. No one will give you a chance if you're not taking them. So you just gotta keep throwing stuff out there. I always say that it's like throwing spaghetti at the wall, but nobody ordered pasta and everybody has celiacs. Like, you are gonna bother people. You are bugging them. No, they don't want to hear about your book. No, they don't want to hear your pitch. But you got to do it anyways. If you want to write comics, if you want to draw comics, if you want to work in the comic book industry, you got to bother people. You got to give them their stuff. I was talking to a couple of shops. They did not want to hear from me. They were trying to sell. They were trying to make their money. And I had to shill anyways. And, lucky I did. They bought comics. They ordered more recently when they finally got a chance to read it. And I had to bug them to be able to do it. And, like I said, like, it was worth it. It paid off, but you got to be okay with bugging people and moving forward, even when you know that they don't want to hear from you. It's like the dude who made Shorzy Letterkenny, who couldn't get cast, so he cast himself. Dude, it's exactly like that. I remember, man, I love that dude, Jared Kiso. I remember when I was first trying to do comics, like the first time I tried out, I was like, well, I'll do a little anthology. Scraped up enough money, put it together, did it. Nobody read it, obviously. I put it up on Comixology, it failed. And then I was like, I'm doing it wrong. I need to do pitch packets. I need to be pitching to all these publishers. And I spent my life savings, literally, all of my money, all this work for years. And no, of course, nobody wanted any of these pitch packets. They never heard of me. They're not going to pay me money for these books. I needed to take a chance on myself, and so that's what I did with Tokyo Fire at Zoop. And, like, I made my own book, and I self-published it. My cat's trying to tear down my plants. I self-published my book, and now I'm getting attention. Now publishers are answering my emails. They're not always yeses. There's a lot of polite no's that hit my inbox, but they're at least reading them now, which is more than I could ever say before. And I do get some yeses. Hellion and Bash it's an ongoing series at Professional Entropy. Tokyo Fire is getting its full issue run over at Professional Entropy. The Digger is coming out later on from Invader Comics. And I have more stuff that I can't share yet because stuff isn't signed, but I have more yeses coming. And it's all because I had to take a chance and keep swinging even after I missed, man. Got to work the show to get work. Exactly. It was the same way when I was wrestling too. Dude, it's, oh man, so much like wrestling. At least I don't have to hurt my body to do it. You got to be in great shape, and you got to, in my opinion, wrestling's so much harder. Comic Talk, what's going on, dude? How's it going? Biggest fan. You're the best, man. But like, I would have loved to do wrestling. I just don't have the wherewithal to do it. I loved writing stuff though. I would love to do more underground wrestling writing. That's a blast. But it's just, you gotta have such a passion for it, and you gotta have, like, you can't love other stuff at the same time. I mean, you kind of can, but that's got to be your main focus. It's a lot like comic books. Like, if you're splintering off, if you're doing too many things, you're gonna lose the plot. Yeah, but I love wrestling. Oh, they are the exact same industry from experience. Right, exactly, man. Like, they really do line up. And there's so much overlap too for people who love wrestling versus who love comic books. It's so fascinating to see, and they love it with the same passion and like nerdum. And I love seeing it because, like, if you're really into comic books, you start to see the behind the scenes stuff, and you have your favorite creators, and you know the drama they've had with this publisher and that other creator. And it's the same stuff with wrestling. I actually got into wrestling because the overlap is insane. I got into wrestling because of all of the behind the scenes drama. I was watching all the documentaries and like the 30 for 30s, and I didn't watch wrestling growing up. My cousins did. I really liked the card game. Loved the wrestling card game. But I didn't super get into it until I got older and I started watching all the behind the scenes stuff. And then I fell in love, and I fell down the rabbit hole. And when they did the streaming service, I watched all of it. And it's been a blast. And I haven't looked back since. And there's so many different, like, if you're outside looking in, it's like you probably only know about WWE, but there's so many other ones, and the Japanese wrestling scene really drew me in, and it's just all so cool. Please don't mind me dying. I'm sorry. Hey, Betty, how you doing, dude? How's it going? Dude, it was super cool talking to you earlier this week and actually getting that script finally done, because I know we've been going back and forth for it for a while, and I knew you had that story in you for like years now, and actually seeing it come to life and being able to work with you on the script, it was really cool. Oh yeah, work. Not fun stuff. It can't always be. We can't always be having a good time, man. I made it into comics as an artist because of my time in the ring. Got into the ring because of my love of comics. Dude, right? Like, it's full circle, man. It's how it goes. I love it. Of course, Betty, man. It was a blast. And we're going to keep going. I want to go to Mexico and watch a wrestling match there. Dude, Mexican wrestling is on another level. The passion and the drama that they bring is so cool. I love it so much. I did so much research. I was working on a series, and it really wasn't my place to tell that story, so I ended up bowing out of it. Just like, as a white dude, like, that's just, it wasn't my story to tell. But it was really cool getting to see a lot of that stuff. And then I got to see it firsthand because there was a few matches out of Flint, which was really, really dope. But man, wrestling has such a deep history, and for some reason, it's still so niche. And it's such a huge entertainment industry, but just like comics, only like there's still like a small subsection of nerds that keep it alive, which just, it's crazy to me. You are motivating me, dude. I happy to be motivated. Right now, I don't feel very motivated. I got this chest thing going on. I can't talk, but I'm still writing. I'm gonna write till I die. Oh, I can't say that. I'm gonna write till I. T.S. What's going on, Taylor? How you doing? I trained under a rail. Oh, dude, that's so rad. Dominic Mysterio, Goddad, Lucha has such a special place in my heart. Dude, heck yeah, man. That is so cool. Man, you, like, the amount of stories that you've told me that you're like, yeah, I knew this person, or I've worked with that person. Like, how are you online talking to me? How come you're not on telling these stories, man? You got way better stories to tell than I do. I over here, like, I research stuff, and I look into things, and I'm a nerd, right? Like, I go, and if I don't know something, I don't pretend like I do. I go and learn it, you know? But I don't have as much firsthand experience in a lot of these things. And when someone like you step up and you're like, oh yeah, I did this. And I'm like, oh, I want to hear from you. Nobody loved you. Dude, nobody loved me until I put on the mask. You know what I mean? Like, I got on here to talk about my comic books, and so I yap, man. You can yap. I've seen your videos. You can tell these stories. You got what it takes. Fake Comics, what's going on, Thomas? How you doing? Dude, I was just talking to my wife about going out to St. Louis. Like, I was asking her, I was like, what will it take for us to go to Missouri? And she was like, why? And I was telling her about the cons that you were telling me about. She was like, we can go. Like, so, because we were talking about hitting up one in Chicago, and that lined up with another one possibly in northern Iowa. And I'm like, well, like, listen, if we go a little bit further, the problem is so many of these cons pop up in the summer at the same time. So it's like you kind of have to pick and choose. Do you do something local? Do you do something far away? And for me, a lot of what I'm trying to do is exposure. Apparently, exposure to illness, but also exposure to like other comic book publishers, other creators. So I'm trying to line it up in a way where I can hit up places where I know that some of these publishers will be. My big one is trying to get in at Motor City Comic Con. I did all the pre-registration stuff, but it's a wait list. You never know if you're going to get in. I just don't got that obsession thing. Like, I'm easily satisfied. Kills drive. Dude, I get that. I definitely understand that. That's one thing I have, man. Like, I'm never satisfied. It's a curse. Like, there's always some new obsession, whether it's writing a new story or learning about a new thing. ADHD. Good thing is that GalaxyCon in St. Louis is in October. Yes, and that would probably be when I'm trying to head down and we can try to link up, because in Michigan, there's not a lot of stuff as you get closer to winter. So as you like, and you're in the Midwest, and like I know you still kind of are, but you're a little bit in a warmer area. Like it starts to at least ease up when it comes to our stuff. So I might be able to make it out that way. Hopefully, I see you at a con one day. Comic Talk, where are you at when it comes to cons? Where are you located? I've been trying to make it out to the East Coast. If you're around there, I was talking to Benny Rose and Alex from Lucky 33 Comics about trying to link up and do some stuff out east. I have friends out west. It's just so far to travel. Like, it's so far, so expensive. Our country is too big. One of my publishers was threatening to send me to Comics Pro last weekend just because they needed a representative, and I'm like, it's just so far. Like, I don't want to go that far and have to stay, especially by myself. I don't have anybody to travel with. And yet somehow never pleased. Dude, isn't that the curse, right? You're like, I don't want to do it, but I want to do something. That's spoken like a true nerd, right? I'm on the West Coast. Oh, see, you're part of the problem getting out there. I do have a couple of friends out in Las Vegas who have talked to me about doing stuff, but a lot of it is like, one of the reasons why I could table at all the Midwestern stuff was that was affordable for some of my publishers to help me pay for. Trying to get a table at something like San Diego, I can talk a publisher into giving me a couple $100 to split a table at Motor City. I don't think I have the clout to get them to front me like $5K for a table in San Diego. I couldn't even split that with them. I don't have $2.5K. I'm not sitting on that kind of cash. I don't have fat stacks. Road life was the deterrent that killed my drive for it, for sure. Dude, right? Like we talk about wrestling and comic books, it's the same thing. I used to be in bands, and if you really wanted to level up, if you wanted to get past being local, you had to tour. And you didn't have to tour worldwide. You didn't have to go international, but you needed to tour at least in your region. You needed to hit other cities, other states, and that was just, it was so expensive to do. Not to mention, we borrowed so much equipment being in a crappy punk band. We're like, if we travel, it's like, we weren't guaranteed to have any of the stuff that we needed to put on a good show. We don't do cons just yet, but we have made a list of some. I mean, that's a good way. Like, wait till you can afford it. Wait till you need to do it, because it's expensive to do early. What I started doing, because I was a little bit unprepared last year, was making a plan to go and visit cons so I could kind of see what they were about before I jumped in. And I kind of learned what they were about, and then I started booking tables, because I didn't really even attend them to know what was going on, what would I be expecting. So, and then when publishers and other creatives were like, "Hey, am I going to see you here?" I'd buy your stuff, or I'd look at your portfolio, I'd read your stuff if you were here. That's when you start booking. Philip B, what's going on, dude? How are your comics going? Yep, got to get FaceTime. It's networking, man. You gotta. It sucks, but you gotta schmooze, and as an anxious dude, I'm gonna be honest, I can kind of talk to you guys here because you're in the chat. I think if we were all in a room, I'd be real nervous, like I'm not that affable, I'm not great in crowds, so like being at GalaxyCon, or not GalaxyCon, Great Lakes Comic Con, walking around trying to hand out books. I'm like, me and my buddy went. He came to, he's like my emotional support friend, and I was like, hey, I gotta go be a big boy now. I need you to stay here and not accompany me. I need to go talk to all these shops and ask them if they want to buy a book. And they were like, no, like I'll come with you. And I was like, no, I need to do this. I'm an adult. I need to get over this. And if not get over it, I need to get used to it. And because you got to get used to bothering people. That's half of what you got to do. No one gives you a job unless you ask for it in this industry, man. Especially when you're starting out. But if you go to a big East Coast con, let me know. Listen, man, like you got the fat stacks to get over to the East Coast from the West Coast. You're doing a lot better than I thought you were. Ellie, ahoy, ahoy, buddy, what's going on? I just talked to Ellie about doing some comic book stuff. We're gonna be. I'm so excited to be working with you on stuff. How's the research going? Working on my pitches for Mad Cave. Thanks for having. Oh, dude, that's so cool. Do you know anybody over at Mad Cave? Hook me up, man. I was just pitching a book to Mad Cave. So hey, maybe they'll say yes to both, and we'll be on the same lineup. I don't have high hopes, but I had only pitched one thing over there before, and they gave me some really cool feedback. And so I wanted to come back around with some of my newer books and see if they'd be interested, because they were really kind, and they were one of the few places that actually said, hey, we're going to take some time and read your pitch without saying no. And I was so surprised about that. But yeah, of course, man. I felt the same. I tend to have my insecurity come off as arrogance, dude. Right? Like, people mistake like my like fear for like being like angry, and I'm like, no, I promise. This is just I have resting mean face. Like I'm more afraid of you than you are of me. People don't care until you make them care. Exactly, man. Taking the leap takes guts. It does, and sometimes it's the guts I don't have, but you got to do it anyways. I need to invite you to my Pinterest board. Please, Ellie, please invite me to the Pinterest board. I'm so excited to see what you got cooking. I'm so pumped to be working on a project with you. I wish. Listen, all we can hope, all we can do is cross our fingers, right? Like maybe they're into some stuff. We need to talk offline too, Phil. I know we're like two ships passing the night every time you're making a video, I'm making a video and going lives and stuff, but let's link up and maybe work on something together. You are involved with so many cool anthologies that I want in, man. You always are teamed up with so many cool things, and I love the stuff that you're making, and I want to be a part of it, man. Sadly, I'd love to extend the favor, but like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing over here. But if there's anything, we can talk. Definitely, I went to Kubert school in my 30s after flopping as a wrestler. Listen, flopping is a strong word. Like, if you choose to leave on your own accord, if you survive, so many people go through, like, wrestling school, and it is so much more grueling than people think when you look into it. And I think people are like, oh, this is how you take a bump, or, this is how you draw a crowd. And it's so much more. I think it's so funny that there was this idea before it's like, wrestling is fake. And when you find out that, like, it's somewhat choreographed, it's somewhat scripted, but those people in the ring are athletes to the highest degree. The amount of work they have to do to not hurt each other is far and away more impressive than most things that I watch as a sports entertainment. So, like, the fact that you even participated in that, dude, is inspirational. TS is trying to work with everybody. Listen, Taylor, okay, I have been accused of this, and I'm going to tell you right now, I 100% am trying to work with everybody. I love seeing all the people who are on here making comic books. And listen, until I am such a hot commodity that everybody wants to work with me, I'm going to ask everybody. Because everyone's making cool stuff, and I love working. I love making comic books. And I was kind of late to the game. I didn't start doing this until I was almost in my 30s, okay? I missed a lot of time working a boring, just terrible office job that I did not enjoy at all, okay? So I'm going to make up for it, and I'm going to work on every project I can. I'm going to be pitching every book that I can, making every book that I can, and asking everybody and their mom if I can work on a project with them, because I'm not going to take it for granted, and who knows how long I'll get to do this. So I am going to work with everybody. He really is. He's determined. Yeah. Dude, it's true. If I can say one thing about myself, it's that I am determined. Like, I will not give up. It doesn't matter how many times I lose. And I do lose. I get those no's. One bump is all it takes to resolve that opinion. Dude, right? Dude, I got to do a local thing. Shout out to it was Pontiac Wrestling World is what they called it. It was like 2 matches. It did not last very long. There's not a lot of money in it over here. But I was like, please, can I take a bump? And instant regret, instant learning lesson. This is not for me. Oh god, it was painful. And not just painful, it's like you expect it to be painful, but it's even more than that. And like a lesson learned. I am happy to be in the crowd watching. Maybe I would do some like promoter stuff, or agent stuff, but I don't think I could ever step into the ring, man. I do not have the wherewithal physically. I mean, you tried to pitch me on my author account. Dude, oh, of course, man. And I'll always pitch you. And like, listen, it probably won't be the last time either. If there's something that we can work on, I'm gonna go for it. Also, he literally pitched me, and I didn't initially do comics, although I've always wanted to. Listen, Elliot, I will say, like, you were one of the last people I was doing that to, because, like, lesson learned when I first started pitching comic books to artists, when I didn't know them, when I didn't know how to find an artist to do comic books with me. I pitched anybody that I knew that just did art, right? Like, I'm talking painters, like watercolors, like just anybody who did anything remotely artistic. People that I worked with at that office job who drew kind of okay. I was like, hey, you want to do a comic book with me? And like, that's how I started doing it. And eventually I learned, I'm like, hey, if they're not in it for comic books, you got to really like comics to do it. So I stopped doing that. But when I saw your artwork and then we got to work on different D&D and TTRPG stuff and I started to get to know you more, I was like, even if like you don't want to do comic books, I'm like, I need to ask at least to get off my chest because I wanted to work with you so bad because your art is so gorgeous and also you're fun to hang out with. So it was like, okay, I know that I could work with her. You know what I mean? There are so many people that I'm like, even if they wanted to, I'm like, I don't know if we get along or whatever, but we have a good time hanging out. So I was like, we could make some cool stuff together. That brain rattle is not for the uncommitted for sure. Right? Like, that's the thing. Like, you don't understand. Like, that's why CTE is so real. Like, your body shakes. That force just ripples through when you take a hit like that. And it's like, and even when you're not trying to sell it, like, if you're not moving that momentum somewhere, it just goes internally. And if you walk away with only a headache, you're one of the Herculean when it comes to wrestlers, man. It hurts. Flattery will get you everywhere. By the way, gang, our comic idea is dope. I'm super excited to get started. Dude, it really is. I want to start plugging it, but we have so much more to do before it's even close. Hi, opening Hellion and Bash right now. Oh, that's so cool. I really hope you enjoy it. If you hate it, maybe don't tell me. But if you really like it, go ahead and let me know in the chat. I hope you dig it. And I hope you check out issue number 2, which is live on Kickstarter right now. Got a shill on the hour, right? And, you know, cool stuff. We have stickers. Let me go grab one. Hold on 1 second. I'll be right back. Ignore my sweatpants. All right. I'm sick, so I got sweatpants on. Don't judge me. So I got stickers finally in from Sticker Ninja. They killed it on these. These are so cool. And they look like they have a white background, but they're actually clear, so it looks like Pterodactyl is actually clinging to something. So when you stick it on something, there's no white background. It just looks like he's hanging off whatever you're doing. Same thing with Yeti Man here. This is like the first merch I ever purchased for any of my stuff, so I was just super excited. Frantic right sounds. I'm fast as fuck, boy. But it really, like, I do try to ask everybody that I can to work with me, like, even if you don't love comic books or even if you're just trying to get into it, because you never know what's gonna hit. You never know what kind of people you're gonna enjoy working with. And up until maybe about 2 years ago, no one wanted to work with me, period. I shelled out a lot of money, obviously, to work with people, and they did, and it was a good experience. But even they were like, I've never heard of you. I don't know you from Adam. I don't know if I want to work with you. So the fact that I get to ask people and they don't immediately get mad at me, I'm going to jump on that because I don't want to take it for granted. I love making comics, and I want to do it any chance I get. I didn't ask, I forced you to. Yeah, but I was so excited. Like, writing that backup stuff for your book, Rod, like, I had a blast. Go check out Colonel Jefferson if you can, if you haven't picked up a copy yet. It's an awesome book. Every gig I managed to get was based on vibes more than anything else. Dude, exactly. I always say it's like you gotta be practicing, you gotta have the skills to back it up, but it's about what you're doing in the room. It's about, can you talk to people? Can you hang out with people? Can they stand you? Then they go, okay, yeah, we can stand you. We'd like to work with them. Is this stuff any good? Because a lot of times, everybody else you're competing with, all the other people that are gunning for that job, are just as good skill-wise. And so then the question comes down to, yeah, but who do we want to hang out with more? And you gotta be in the sphere. You gotta be cool. You gotta be chill in order to win that battle. In order to have them go, yeah, well, like, TS is just as good of a writer as this guy, but like, he brings the energy. And sometimes that's a bad thing. I've had people like turn me down because they're like, you just seem like a lot. Like, I've had people be like, you're just a little too amped up for us. So sometimes it doesn't pay off, but better than me in most cases. Man, like, I don't know about that, but I appreciate it. Our only issue is us wanting to make sure we can pay people, and we are super new with no comic audience. You can't pay people, then it's like, that is what it is. And that's why, like, some of the projects I team up with, like Ellie is a good example. Like, we went into it, like, she was like, I can't pay you. I was like, hey, I can't pay you. Let's see what we can make on our own dime, what we can afford to do, and get somebody else to pay us. When I did Tokyo Fire is a great example, right? So I paid as much as I could, but I really wanted to work with Sky, my co-creator on Tokyo Fire, Sky Hawkins, and she's done way more comic books than I ever have, and probably ever will. She was doing a small project for Marvel. She was doing her web comic that's done really, really well. And, like, listen, she did not need me in that case. But I pitched her the book. She liked it. She wanted to co-create it with me. And I was like, well, let's make sure you get paid because you have other gigs. So you're not going to put this as a priority unless you get paid. So let's make sure you get paid. But her rate is not what she got paid on Tokyo Fire, right? Like, that was a deal that we struck so then when we got crowdfunded, we could kind of make up that fact. And sometimes it's what you gotta do. I work with a lot of people who want to break into comics at the same level as me, so they're okay with partnering up and teaming up in a way that doesn't get us paid. I take a lot of writing jobs that don't pay my normal page rate or at all sometimes. Like, I trade a lot of work. I trade a lot of work with Mr. Fish Comics is a great example. Mr. Fish draws a couple of books I'm pitching right now, and in return, I write a series for him. I help him edit. I help set up his Kickstarters, but, like, we don't have any money between the two of us to pay anybody anything, you know? So it's hard when you first start. And if anybody does get paid, it's usually not me. It's usually the artist that I work with. Hellion and Bash is a really good point on that, where we get paid by Professional Entropy to make the book, the publisher. But that money all goes to Marcus Pedro, the artist, and Mike Stock, the letterer. I don't get paid anything on that until the book sells a certain number of copies, and then me and Professional Entropy split it. So, like, I don't make any money on that book. I don't get paid much to write much. Just period. That's just not how it works in reality. Like, if you want to break in, it's such a pay-to-play industry. I'm just okay artistically. That ain't a bad thing. Just room to grow. Dude, that's true. And half of, like, working in, like, comics or any artistic industry is knowing that you have room to grow, right? Like, I don't operate under some, like, auspication that I'm the best that I can be. Like, I know that I have room to grow. And that's how you stay learning. You stay getting better. We will swindle our way into getting paid for art. Dude, exactly, man. Beg, borrow, and steal. We'll get there. If not for that, we'd be signing people onto projects so quickly. And it's hard. And like, I've had people make that mistake. I've had people promise me money who are like, they can't afford it. And they don't understand. And like, and I appreciate that. And I don't want to work for free necessarily. But I understand that to a certain extent that you have to in this industry. Because it is an industry. And there's only so many big paying jobs. And if you want to work in it, you got to do it up front. It's that dumb pay your dues stuff, you know? And it's crappy. But if you want to compete, sometimes it's what you have to do. Back-end deals, trading services makes you invaluable to the industry. It really helps. It's helped me get a lot of gigs. It's helped me get a lot of stuff. What'd you think of my pitch? Dude, Fake Comics, I loved your pitch. I'm so excited to see that. So I want to talk about it, but obviously I don't want to blow up your spot on here. But I'm excited to see what you got cooking, and I'm excited to see more of those designs. You only sent me the one. I'd love to see more of what you got going on. And if you ever want to run any scripts by me, I'd love to check those out, dude. Did you end up pitching that one yet, or are you still waiting for more pages to get finished? I don't mind not being paid, but not paying others is where we caution. Yeah, it's tough sometimes, man. Like, and that's what, like, I only work with people who are at my same level or really want to work with me on certain stuff. If I can't pay, it's got to be a project that we're excited about, right? Like Ellie and I are working on a project that like she picked. She was like, "Hey, this is the one that I think that we could have a lot of fun with." It becomes our project. It's not my book that I want her to draw, right? Like it's about finding that balance. And now I've been lucky enough to have artists reach out to me and go, "Hey, I have an idea. Can you make it your own? Can you write it for me?" And you kind of have to do that. You gotta, pick and choose and go back and forth and find that balance. I'm under no delusion that I'm the guy, Right, exactly. And that kind of mentality will get you to be the guy someday, And you might even already be there, but because you don't let it be, because you don't rest on your laurels, like, you will eventually only get better, right? It's like when you see really, really good bands, like people, we're talking like giant acts that are on tour across the country, they have platinum albums, and they take lessons because they know that they can be better. And I love that drive, and that's always what I strive to do, and that's always what I tell people. I am in that delusion, though. Ellie, you are very, very good. And I maybe I need to tear you down a peg, but you are awesome, though. I got all the designs today. I'm sending the script to my editor this weekend. Oh, heck yeah. All right. First email the editor. I think that's fair considering the fact that you pay them. But once you get some notes back, I would love to check them out, dude. I'm so excited for you. And also, don't forget, when somebody inevitably picks up your script and you're getting published by Dark Horse, remember old TS and let me write a one-page backup for you. I would love to. Put me on the letters page. Give me a column or something. Okay, we are back. Phone went dead. So I said my last comment. Dude, that's all good, man. No worries. But honestly, thank you so much for hanging out, guys. Sometimes it's rough being on here, talking to myself, having the cold, like sitting here going, I wonder if I'm going to have anybody to talk to in the comments. I got to sell this comic book. Speaking of, Hellion and Bash Issue number 2, live on Kickstarter right now. Link is in the bio. Tell a friend, tell a cousin, tell that weird guy at the comic book shop. Go pick up a copy. I think it will be published 100%. Just not sure by who. Dude, I love the optimism, and I love just like how sure you are. I wish I had that. I think I choose the pessimism because it's not only safer, but it comes with a pleasant surprise when I do get a yes. Like, I go in 100% knowing no one's gonna buy my stuff, that I'm gonna fail, and I go in being okay with failing. So then anything that I get from it is a giant win for me. And maybe that's not healthy, but that is how I have to approach it. And that stops me from being disappointed. And it means every little win that I get is huge XP, right? I'm always leveling up because I thought I wasn't even going to survive the battle, let alone win a few. Like, I love that. And I'll always pop in and say hi. Dude, you're the best. Thank you so much for doing that. Because it's hard, right? Like, you have all these mutuals on here, and I don't follow anybody that I don't want to hear from or interact with, but we can't always say hi. We can't always comment. Not everybody has time to see that stuff, and I don't know about you guys, but like, I have a different account. I have a personal account that I use for TikTok if I'm gonna like doom scroll or whatever. I use this as my work account. I'm on it way more than I am my personal one, and so I try to tailor it to all the people that I have as my mutuals. Like, I don't scroll the For You page very often on this account. It's always my friends page because you all do awesome stuff like this, like chat with me. So like, I want to make sure I'm doing the same thing. I got in with one mindset, how I believe my stuff is great. I am always learning from mistakes. But yeah, man. It's a good way to be. And like, listen, I think it takes a certain level of narcissism, like, to be completely honest. Like, you have to think that your stuff is at least better than other stuff to go, I want to show this to people, to want to share it with the world, to want to tell your story. And because it's an industry, because it's a business, to compete in that arena, you have to believe that you have what it takes. You could be wrong, but you got to believe it somewhere in the back of your head. Like I like my stuff. I think that it's at least entertaining to me, and I've been fortunate enough, or maybe just lucky enough to know people that also like it. So when I bring it on here and other people tell me they like it, I believe them. I don't question it very much. I'm not in doubt that it's good enough for that. My doubt is never in the quality of my books. It's that I know that the industry doesn't always respond to quality, right? It's time and place and luck and who you know and how consistent you are and how many people know your name and a lot of other factors. So I try not to let it get bogged down. When I get a no on a book, I don't always internalize that as I need to be better. I just need to take another shot. And I still try to improve every single thing that I write. But I don't always go, this was bad, I'm bad, that's why I didn't get it. Sometimes you have to go, okay, I didn't get it, and I'm going to pitch it to somebody else. Now, eventually you pitch it to everybody, they all say no, and you got to take it to Kickstarter, and you go, okay, I'll write better next time. But you can't always look at it like you're not good enough if you get a no. Because it's art, it's subjective. So long as my art is better than a specific webcomic, I will be content despite his... Dude, I love that. It is a powerful force. Oh, man. Listen, I've talked about this before. I don't name names, but like I didn't just start writing comic books because I was inspired by the books I love. There are many books that I don't love that I said, I could do better than that, and I need to put my money where my mouth is and show people. I can't just tell my wife, like, hey, you know that book that we read that we thought was crap? I could do better. I need to do it. And so, like, I tell people all the time, I was just as inspired by the books I thought were trash. If you're going to gamble, best bet on yourself. Dang right. You can't have a backup plan. It means you anticipate to fail instead of look at successes. Exactly. Although I will say, I quit my very, very good job. I had a very cushy job that I quit to make comic books. And I will tell you, that makes making comic books very difficult. They are very expensive to make. And if I could impart any sort of wisdom, it is to do not quit your day job. Use that day job to fund this really cool night job until it takes over as your day job. Because you need everything to be successful. You need everything to hit. You cannot have failures. And when you do have failures, they are going to set you back. They are going to hurt you. I made some really big mistakes in funding pitch packets instead of self-publishing books when I first started. And I ran through my life savings. And it hurt. And it took me a long time to build that back up and get to a place where I can at least keep it even, keep it neutral. One book pays for the next, right? And that was tough to do because I made a really, really dumb mistake in quitting my day job. And I really regret that. Comics was my backup plan. Yeah, but you have like one of the coolest plans ever. You're like, maybe I'll go pro as a wrestler. Maybe I'll do comics. That's like the coolest thing ever. You can't just say that out of the side of your mouth, man. That's rad. It's crazy how much you can learn from other people's mistakes, dude. It's true. And that's why I always talk about them. I really don't talk about my wins very often because they're not that interesting, right? Like, there are other people who have been published by bigger publishers and put out more books, but not everybody has blown their life savings on 12 pitch packets, which are awesome books that no one will ever read because no one had ever heard of me before. But also, you never know what zeitgeist you're tapping into. That's true, right? Like, and sometimes you'll pitch a book and it's not right for that publisher or not right for that time, but then when you pitch it again, it's golden. I think about Tokyo Fire. I had pitched that to Invader Comics the first time around, and they weren't interested. They didn't want to do another cyberpunk book. They had just did a cyberpunk book the year before, and it really wasn't the time for it. But when I ran it on Zoop the next year, it was the right time, and people were so excited about Cyberpunk 2077, and the anime was coming out, and it just happened to hit at the perfect time, and we got funded being nobodies. And that opened up a lot of doors, and I talked to Invader since, and they were super excited for me, and they felt bad that they couldn't grab Tokyo Fire when I had originally pitched it to them. And that was one of the reasons why I got in the door to talk about my next book with them. So it just goes to show that it's not always a no because you stink. Sometimes it's a no because it's not the right time. Really explains why I wound up where I am. And am not. Dude, it's exactly it. When you look back at like the road that led you to where you are now, it's never not crazy. Like sometimes I think I'm like my life has been boring, right? And it's not boring. I love my life. I love everything about it, and I love that it's somewhat boring sometimes. But when you look at everything that leads you to where you are now, it's like it's not boring at all. Everybody's life could be a novel, and you'd be riveted because you never expect people to end up where they do. You have to have a job with making comics. Self-publishing is not a moneymaker. It isn't. And I it's not that I argue with people about it, but I do see some of our peers in the indie comic space going, well, listen, I need mine to make this much money. And their goal is to make money off their indie comic books. And it's not that that's impossible, and some people do it, but they are the rarities. They are the oddities. They are the exception, not the rule. And the way that me and you make our indie comics and a lot of our other friends, like, we do it to build that resume to work with other publishers. And that works a lot better because if you want longevity in your career, it's, of my opinion, that you do need to eventually play ball with some of those larger publishers because that's where the audience is by and large for the most part. Like, people are reading Marvel and DC and Boom and Image and IDW and Dark Horse and all these other books, Mad Cave, Invader even. Like, you have to play ball if you want to grow and survive in the space for a long time. And that doesn't mean that you can't be the exception, and that doesn't mean that I'm right? Like, I'm only 30, I'm 32, and I'm not, a giant publisher who knows everything. But, I've been a comic book fan for a very long time, and I've seen who's made it and who has found their way to create their own success. And most of them follow that Kirkman manifesto of getting in at the big two and then carrying that success over to the creator-owned places. And you can't do that without self-publishing books to work your way over there. It's just, it's unrealistic to think that your book is going to be the next Image, the next Boom, the next Marvel. It's just usually not how it operates. The gods will curse you with interesting times. Never ask for them. It's so true. The exception is usually they have someone who has a base they jump on. Right. And that's the thing. Like, if you can get lucky and if you know James Tynion and he's a friend of yours and you can get into a book of it, like, heck yeah, your little indie book that no one's ever heard of can blow up. But the odds are not in your favor. The title of my autobiography will be, and then nothing. Lots of build-up, no payoff. Yeah, but to a certain extent, isn't that good? You don't want it to be, and then something horrible happens, right? Like, after becoming a dad, getting married, settling down in middle America, I was so glad my life became boring to a certain extent because it wasn't boring for most of my childhood and most of my early adulthood, right? Like, I'm not going to bore you with, oh, woe is me crap, but like living in a van, being emancipated like in high school, the stupid stuff that I wish I didn't have to deal with, that I would never wish on my kids. It's like I had to worry about stuff that I never wanted to worry about. And then as an adult, like, if I can just worry about paying my rent and not have to worry, like, am I going to be able to eat? And not have to worry about, like, rebuilding my home, like finding shelter, that kind of stuff. Like, I like that my life is at least somewhat boring. Of course, I quit my job to go make comic books, but I like that it's not as interesting as it used to be. I like that my wife has a job that she digs, and that my kids are happy and healthy and love to read, and I love that I can talk to my friends online, and every once in a while I have 30 free minutes to go play Marvel Rivals or whatever. Like, it's a boring life when you look at it in terms of, like, I'm not living my Steve Rogers or Spider-Man dreams or whatever, but, like, I'll take boring over bad any day. But I'm good with what I've done. I accept a lot of bad, luckily. It's always the least version of that thing when it does. Right, that's the thing. Like, I survived. And I thank my lucky stars every day that's it. Right? Like, I'm here, I made it, and so many people aren't. And so many people have so many other things to deal with. And I like that the hardest thing for me right now, other than, finding insurance or paying for healthcare, is like trying to get people to take a chance and read my comic book. That's pretty cool if that's my biggest issue, And it is a big issue because I was dumb and quit my day job, but like, I like that that's my main problem. I like that that's the most difficult thing for me. Over here just chilling, going over an online for a series. I want the biggest thrill of my week to be that there's a new 2-point franchise expansion. What are they on right now? Hospital, 2 Point Hospital, 2 Point Campus. I just saw another one. What is the new one that they just did? A museum, 2 Point Museum. Thank you. Love that series. So cool to see them like come back. Like, I mean, obviously, if you haven't followed all that stuff, they used to make another very popular series, and coming back with 2 Point in the way that they have has been such a cool like comeback story and glow up. Like, so rad. Also, can I say, Ellie, you liking 2 Point is probably the second most British thing ever. Next to, I think, Thank Goodness You're Here. I think that's the other one. The makers of Theme Hospital, just, yes. But Thank Goodness You're Here and 2 Point Hospital are probably the most British games I play. Unless you count anything from Team 7, so like Worms, on all those games. Oh man, sorry about the cough. Oh, I'm dying. This is what happens when you go to the cons, when you start going and like they tell you there's gonna be crud there, and they're not wrong every single time, no matter how many precautions you take. They're also in my top 10 games. They're great games. This is not me complaining. They are awesome. I love a lot of British things. Not your food necessarily, and I know we've argued about that before, but con sickness is real. Dude, it really is. Like, everyone warned me. This was the first one I went to. And, like, as I signed up for all the other cons this week, I'm like, okay, I need to leave time to recover in between. I need to book doctor's appointments in between. Like, okay, like, how bad am I going to be sick? You need to be prepared. You take that back. I won't take it back. You know the food that you eat. And if you don't know, you should learn. I know you've been to better places. I know you've eaten better food. And I'm not arguing necessarily for American food. I'm just arguing against British food. That's all. Like, if I can change your mind at all, I'm not fighting for my food. I'm just fighting against your food. Although your candy is on point. Jim Jams and all the other weird crap that I get handed, it's so good. Concrud seasonally debilitating the Cooper School all the time. Dude, I've heard that so many times because like it's so active, and you're not just going to specifically comic conventions. Obviously, anything for animation, anything even remotely tangential to those nerdums, and it just infects the entire campus. I've heard that so many times. I think I've changed my mind about this collaboration. Oh no! See, this is a good way to walk yourself right out of a partnership. One thing I did think about is scripting a bunch of 1 or 2 page comics as a comic verse Flash fiction. Yeah, that's really cool. If you can get somebody to draw them, and like it can be a fun time, and it depends on where you want to put them. Something like that lives really well on a place like Instagram or Webtoon, Tapas, all of those. If we've seen those wax and wane, like Webtoon isn't nearly as big as it was 2 years ago, but it still is huge. It's great for manga, and it's great for experimental places. And if you're doing that Infinity Scroll, if you're just doing that for 2 pages, you can have some real success over there. It really just depends on what you want to do and what your goal is with that project. Like we've talked about before with like my stuff, all of my books are working towards getting more publisher work. So it's like building a resume. I want to show what I can do. That's why they're never the same as any other project. It's always a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's always different. So that's why I do that. But I have worked on projects where it's like, hey, let's just do something for fun. Okay, cool. Let's throw it on Webtoon. Let's just get something over there. Ezra System in the chat. Alex, what's going on? Great point and example. He had more ideas than he could fit in his main series. So he goes, hey, I'm just going to put this one up on Webtoon. Like, what if we just did that? And that's one like he does purely for fun. And, you know, that's how it goes. Hey, it's Terry Smith. How dare you use my government name? You don't know who could be listening. I could be tapped, man. Can't be throwing that out there. You call me Alex. What am I supposed to call you? It's on your page. When you go to the authors page on Lucky 33 Comics, it says it. When you go to mine, it says T.S. Luther. And so if you didn't know, that's what the T.S. stands for. You caught me. You got me. Ezra, it's right here. That is a fictional character. Ezra. Hey, Taylor. What does it say? What did it always say earlier before I changed my subtitles? Do you remember? It would always give me something weird. You are not a fictional character. You are a real human being. Although I haven't seen you in the same room as Ezra Systems, so maybe you're not. Depending on the feedback, I get my idea for the outline is to publish on here. Oh, heck yeah, like right here, like on TikTok? That'd be cool. I don't see a lot of comics publishing just here on TikTok. That's really interesting. I really just want a rush shaker. That's a good point. Like, just kind of like shaking it off just to get something back out there. That's a fair thing. I feel like platforms perform well when they have a particular flagship comic, and then if they don't add more or encourage talent, then they fall by the wayside a little. That's exactly how it goes, and that's why, like, especially with the fall of Comixology, there is a little bit of a battle right now when it comes to digital comics, and it's not decided yet. So there's a lot of platforms, and I try to be everywhere because you don't know who's going to win. I just heard about a new one the other day that's starting up called Sweet Shop. I employ everybody to go check it out. It's from one of the creators of Omnibus, which was another big digital platform. Don't sleep on it. Go look into it. Right now, he's got an advertising platform called Bindings. That's great for advertising your comic book. So it's worth looking into. I was just going to PDF them and throw them on our publisher site. That's not a bad plan. Don't add more or encourage the talent, then they fall by the wayside. Yep. Oh, God, it just kept going. We're not fighting, all right? We love each other. We really only sell on TikTok and in person nowadays. Yeah, but, like, that's part of, I think, what, like, the magic of your books is that, like, you're not fighting to be everywhere. You just kind of put where you feel like it. And I think that makes Lucky 33 so special. It's like almost like a rarity to come across it in other places. What optimism can you give us in these trying times? Not much. I'm not really selling on TikTok right now because we've been slacking. You know what I can offer you, Cliff, when it comes to optimism is I talked to a really small distributor, a friend of a friend, and they had already signed on 10 different shops as they lost their distribution through Diamond for all of their indie stuff. And they really were passionate about getting indie comics. So this new distributor, which I can't, when stuff gets signed, then I'll talk about them. But they started to reach out to all these small publishers, including one of the ones that I'm working with. And they were like, hey, you want to come on board? I don't have thousands of shops like Diamond did, but I have a handful. I have 10. And like I have 8 that I work with, and I'm trying to put them into conversations too. So maybe they'll have 20. And that's huge for indie shops. So that's my optimism for you right there, is that I was worried because a lot of the publishers that I work with go through Diamond, the only ones who would sign them for distribution, that my books weren't going to see the light of day in shops this year, which was going to be a big thing for me. And now they are, and a lot of other people's are going to continue to see them too. So that's my hope. So I'm more excited than I would have been today. And not really selling on TikTok right now because we've been slacking. Get it together, man. Let's grab some popcorn for the fight. We're not fighting. I'd win anyways. Look at these. Look at these guns. They're obviously hidden below the cardigan, but they're there. And they're massive, as we talked about my pro wrestling experience. Yeah, I think it's untapped, and since it's not serious, I think I can just power through. I mean, you're not wrong. Like that, it's a good way to warm back up and to get back out there. I feel a deep warmth and intelligence in the chat. I love T.S. He's my favorite. Sure. Do parents that are about to divorce? Yeah, we do a great impression of that. Someone throw a lamp. I love my brothers, but Fight Club living room every time we're all here. Oh, that is good news, dude. It really is. I was so excited, and I'm trying to reach out to more people, and I'm trying to make sure that I do get in with this distribution. I've been trying to help land the deal for Professional Entropy and get more people in there. It's like I said, it's given me a lot of hope that at least I'll get into some stores with some of that stuff. And the other thing is I got to talk to a couple of big publishers last week. In a way that I never thought I'd be able to. And it wasn't necessarily like, oh, hey, here's your chance, kid, or anything like that. But it was that they were open to hearing from more indie people. And they had heard of some of us here on TikTok. And that was a thing I never thought I'd hear, and I really wasn't sure if we were cutting through like that. And we are. It's not necessarily in a way where like I'm seeing people get signed all the time, but the fact that like the names that were thrown out were names that I knew, and the fact that there are editors who are scrolling through TikTok and they are looking at comic books. It gives me a lot of hope that we're not cooked like I thought maybe we were. And the fact that like Lunar and Penguin are gobbling up all the mid-range ones that didn't get picked up or that were losing distribution from Diamond. Gave me a lot of hope. And that sales have been doing well this year. When we thought it was going to be a survive till 25, all of that stuff, survive 25, like it's comic books are doing okay. And it's the thing that we see every single time where we think that they're going to die, and they don't. We're used to this, and it's going to keep happening. Congratulations with the distribution. That's big. Thank you so much, dude. And like, you got to keep keeping the battle going. I'm going to keep reaching out to direct shops as well, even as I build that distribution, and maybe I get my own little chain going. Just because you can't stop the hustle. You got to keep going. It's a whole Wild West new thing out there right now. It's so crazy. It looks like we're behind, but we're just getting a good run up. Dude, exactly. Survive 25 would be cool one-off comic. Dude, that's every creative industry right now, too. That's what they're all saying. I did say years ago that we're all the new wave, and I still believe it. I agree, and I do all believe it. And, and I lose a lot of hope sometimes. I never worry that my stuff isn't good enough, but I worry I'm too late. That's the thing. What keeps me up at night, and the thing that I ask my wife is, am I too late to this? And then, I'll hear someone like Scotty Young or Kyle Starks talking about how they didn't get started until they were in their 30s. And I'm like, oh, it's not too late. It takes a while to get going in an industry like this, and there's still space. And again, every time that someone doesn't get a job because they go with somebody who's already in comics, I know it's easy to get jaded and feel down because we're not getting more opportunities or something, but I'm just so happy that comic books isn't the same industry that would chew people up and spit them out like it used to. There are so many pros that have shaped our industry who couldn't afford to live at the end because comic books treated them so dirty. And the fact that that doesn't happen nearly as often, I would much rather take that than everybody gets a job and everyone gets a chance, I definitely feel that in my soul, but I definitely don't think it's too late. And we have all. All right, fan, I'm out of here. Good check. Dude, thank you so much for stopping by, dude. And I'm definitely going to read your pitch. I have 2 more along with yours, so I'm going to have a cool little indie pitch fest tonight. So thank you so much. Different viewpoint, and that's super valuable. It really is. I try not to fall apart on it. And, listen, I would love to work with any of those bigger publishers. I would love to be able to jump in and get my chance. But I don't hate the stuff that I'm reading right now. Every artist that I see who is everywhere deserves it. And, I'm never disappointed when I see Tinyan's got another book. I'm not like, him again. I'm like, the dude's rad. I'm so glad he's everywhere. And, it's that across the board. There's not too many times where I pick up a book by somebody who I see everywhere and they're like, they don't deserve this. That doesn't happen. It's so many people who are in comics do it because they love comics. I don't see many people jumping in and you're like, I hate this and I'm a Nepo baby and I got in and you didn't. I don't see that. You don't work in comic books if you don't love comics. At least not often. I want to see more media about mature relationships. I'm planning to be the change in the world. You got to be the change you want to see in the world. You got to be what you want to see in media. And that's I'm my first fan every single time. I don't write anything that I didn't want to read. What would be the point in that? Also, you see, everybody, Alex left. And it's because he knows. He knows that he would have lost that fight. And I want you to go and bother him whenever you see him. And I want you to tell him he needs to publish what is the name of the book I pitched them? The Face. You need to go and bother Alex from Lucky 33 Comics, Ezra System, and tell him he needs to publish The Face. Because what are they doing over there? They're publishing New Luminaries #4. They're publishing Reanimania, but they don't have time to publish an amazing indie comic by T.S. Luther, The Face, that I sold to them over a year ago. What is that junk? And you saw he left. He could not handle the heat. When are we all getting together and doing a TikTok anthology comic? Cliff, when you're ready to draw it, I think is I really think that's what it's gonna be. If you're not going to enjoy it, who else is going to enjoy it? You can tell when it has no soul. And you can tell that with most art, right? I don't always love creating art, but I love having created art. And I never make something that I'm not excited to read. I can't imagine making something that I don't enjoy looking at. And maybe that's the narcissism in me or whatever. But I love all the books that I've made. I never look at Hellion and Bash. I'm never looking at it going, I hate that book. You know, there's always stuff I want to change. There's stuff I would have done differently sometimes, but I never look at it like, that stinks. It's like, no, I can do better, but I love that I made this. And it's the book I wanted to read. It's so, like, of course I made it. Not you forgetting the book name at first. Dude. Okay, to be fair, Alex pitched me that book almost 3 years ago now. When we first started talking and making comic books here on TikTok, he had pitched me this story, and I said, bet, let me write it. And he said, you got it. And it took us a long time to get around to it. And then last summer, I finally got around to writing it. And now, you know, we gotta wait till they have time to pitch it, or to publish it. Obviously, like, I'm picking on him. They have other awesome books that they're working towards. But I work on a lot of books, and, like, sometimes they do. I'm a dad, too, right? Like, they elude me sometimes. When I don't know stuff, I always say it's because I know a lot about Spider-Man. So forgive me. I don't always know the books that I publish his name. I remember Hellion and Bash, because that one's live on Kickstarter right now. And I promise you, when Lucky 33 does get off their sorry butts and starts publishing The Face by T.S. Luther, then I will remember the name every single time. I'm down now. Yes, Cliff. Like, let's make it happen, dude. If you're willing to play in it, because you're the adult in the room. Let's be honest. We all know that. You don't see me writing for papers. No one will let me write a column. If you want to play in it, you know I'll write something for you. I'll write something for most people, but specifically for you, Cliff. I'm in. But I can't draw it. It's not on the cards for me on that one. All right, but before I go, I gotta go cook dinner for my kids and do some laundry and try not to die coughing. If there's anything that I can answer for comic book wise, writing comic books, publishing comic books, or about Hellion and Bash number 2, which is live on Kickstarter right now, you can pick up number 1 on that same one. The link is in the bio. Go check it out. Tell a friend, tell a loved one, tell your mom she can buy it for you for your birthday. Go check out Hellion and Bash. It's live on Kickstarter right now. I would love to get that funded so I can keep making these things. That is when it turns into a brainstorming session. Dude, it's true. That is when we start going, okay, what do we want to write about? We'll have to host a stream that's just on TikTok, and we'll get as many people on there as we can, and we'll start throwing ideas at the wall, Cliff. I can also write something, but I can't draw. Feel better soon. Thank you so much, Elliot. I appreciate that. I am feeling rough. I'm not gonna lie. A lot of this is I'm faking it till I make it, and I'm not making it right now. I keep getting sick, and I think it's just gonna continue happening as I go to more of these cons. Because I'm not gonna stop. I just signed up for 3 more, and it's gonna carry through, man. That's all publishing creative lives. All right. Thank you so much for hanging out, dudes. I love each and every one of you. Please go tell a friend to back Hellion and Bash number 2. Link is in my bio. We'll go live soon, and we'll talk about making a comics anthology. Now you got me hooked. Now my gears are spinning, Cliffy. Let's make it happen, man. But you have to pay for it. Fly us all out. I require only green M&Ms. So you got to make that happen. It's in my rider, but I'll have my people call your people, and we'll get going. Got to give me some advance notice being over in the UK. Listen, like, you can make it happen. It's not like you're fully on another continent. You have the time and space. I know you can do it. Everybody over in the UK has a sonic screwdriver, right? Or a TARDIS, right? Like, you can just go wherever you need to. I'm pretty sure I see them all the time. They're on, like, every street corner. So, like, just pop on over and we can make it happen. I'm running out of my Doctor Who references. I don't have a million of those. We do it comes with us one report. Yeah, along with your other heart, right? Nothing lower than business class. Who? Exactly. All right, everybody. I will talk to you later. Thank you for hanging out. I appreciate it. I will try.